Welcome to Agents Growth Academy. I hope you are ready to grow big or go home. I am your headmaster. I was going to say your host, but I'm really your headmaster, Jim Schubert. And I've got with me today, as you can see on screen, Chris Langille. And he is going to talk to you about how to scale your agency's client acquisition with digital marketing. Chris is he's the founder of Advisor Evolved, which is a web development and digital marketing agency who helps independent insurance agencies transition their brick and mortar locations into well-oiled customer acquisition machines. Chris, welcome to Agents Growth Academy, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it. And thanks for the perfect pronunciation of my last name. That was that's the best I've ever heard it outside of my actual own family. So that's
He's
great, man.
making it sound like I'm a professional, but quite candidly, I did ask him before. I appreciate you trying to make me sound good, man.
Even still, it was good on your part. So yeah,
You
no,
would be
happy to be here, man.
surprised. Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people mispronounce Schubert. It's like,
Of
okay, I
course.
get SCH, like, it's a little bit different,
Yeah.
but we get like people actually say Skahubert. And I'm
Oh,
like,
geez.
dude, did you go to Skahool?
Yeah, seriously. That's hilarious. That's
Oh, what
great.
is life like in Philly right now, man?
It's good, man. It's so we this time of year is always strange out here. Like one day it'll be like 30 degrees, the next day it's like 60. So we're in the middle of this kind of weird thing, but I'm such a warm weather person that it's slightly depressing to me. I'm not gonna lie, but it's getting better. Kids sports just started back up. Both my kids play baseball, little league baseball, travel teams and whatnot. So my life is about to get a whole lot busier over the next 3 to 4 months. So everything's good though, man. No complaints. Everybody's healthy. Um, things are good, man.
That's awesome. I presume that they're not locked out like the professionals are right now.
No, no, I know. My older son Cole, he's like obsessed with baseball, and he's like
Yeah.
every day, "Dad, are they going to come to an agreement?" And I'm like, "You know
Yeah.
about as much as I do about it, Cole. I have no idea, but yeah, no, everything's rocking and rolling. My youngest son Luke is on like three different teams, and so practices. I mean, 6 7 days a week. So my life is about to be upside down, but it's a good thing. I enjoy it, and I didn't get some of the opportunities like to play little league when I was a kid. You know,
Yeah.
my mother, single parent household, and spread thin. So it's like
Sure.
my mom would be like, if you can get a ride to practice, I'll sign you up, but sometimes it was a little bit harder to get places. But no, man, it's everything's good, and yeah, the Sixers just got James Harden. You asked about Philly.
Yeah.
Uh, that's a big deal right now in Philly because historically our sports teams have been uh, not that great. We
Yeah.
did win the Super Bowl in 2017, but our
Right.
basketball team has been slightly disappointing for the last like 30 years. So Harden came over. We got rid of Ben Simmons, which was a blessing for all involved, even himself. So now it's like we're back to like the basketball scene in Philly, which is pretty cool because it is a big basketball scene here, but just the last 10 20 years we haven't had the record and the performance to like get behind. But
Yeah.
so it's an exciting time in that respect. So I'm a big sports nut, so I get excited for stuff like that.
I think I knew that about you, and I knew it wasn't going to be very hard to get you talking about it. We
Yeah.
should just do the rest of the show as a sports cast. So if you're tuning in, this is
It's funny, man. I've toyed around with the idea. I had a sports blog. This is like in another lifetime.
yeah.
This is probably 10 plus years ago. I had a blog, and I was actually a featured writer for a local, um, like small, like online, like paper, or I guess you call it newspaper. But my article got like syndicated and stuff. And like I saw it on like Yahoo Finance app, and it was like
Oh,
all
that's
over the place.
cool.
It's pretty cool. Um, but yeah, it's I could go on and on about sports, so be careful with me here on it.
All right, we're gonna
Yeah.
tread lightly. What I'm curious about, and I know our listeners are curious about the reason they tuned in. You said that if this were a master class, it would be called "How to Scale Your Agency's Client Acquisition with Digital Marketing." So, was there a pivotal moment for you, or an epiphany that you had when you were like, "Dude, agents suck at this stuff," or they need websites and other tools that are going to help them be better at this? Was there a pivotal moment for you?
I don't know that it was a pivotal moment, but when you take a 30,000-foot view of our industry and how consumers research and buy insurance, it's just not like it was 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
When you look at the search volume for some of the keywords, car insurance quotes, homeowners insurance, it's way higher now than it was 10 years ago. And so it's really just the way that consumers buy insurance. They don't necessarily end the transaction online, but 70-80% of the time they're beginning that process online. And
Yeah.
so having a capable digital footprint is something that it's not like a thing that's nice to have in 2022. I mean, it's a cost of doing business for not just insurance agencies, but really anybody that has a brick and mortar location that's serving local customers. So there
Yeah.
wasn't really one moment, but yeah, I mean, obviously, we talked to a lot of agencies and we've seen a lot of really bad websites, and agencies need help with digital marketing. It's a foreign language to a lot of them. Um, and a lot of the agencies that we help and that we meet and that we consult, the reality is like they're understaffed to begin with. They don't have enough CSRs. They don't have enough producers. They're wearing a lot of different hats in their agency, and at the same time, they know that they need to do these things online. They just physically don't have the time in their day to learn how to do it themselves,
Yeah.
or train someone else to do it. So we created a service that functions as sort of a plug-in to
Mm.
the agency, almost kind of how like a virtual assistant would function.
Yeah.
Um, that helps to, they can offload that stuff to us. But it is you know the channel independent channel has grown significantly, in my opinion, within the past 10 years, but
Yeah.
there's still a long way to go in terms of advertising, marketing, agencies actually investing back into their agency. And so those are some of the things that I'm sure we'll touch on here today, but really trying to help people acquire clients through digital marketing, because that's where they're at, right? I mean, you're
Yeah.
you're going to be able to survive and you're going to be able to get by with word of mouth referrals. But what we always tell agencies is, um, if you live by the referral, you die by the referral. In other words, that loan officer, that realtor that's been sending you money,
Hmm.
free clients, free customers for months, years, etc., they change their mind tomorrow, they can start sending that business elsewhere.
Yep.
And so if you're just purely relying on referrals is 100% of your revenue, that is a scary proposition when you think about it, because it's clientele that you really don't control. You can win them over once they
Yep.
are on your books, but uh, I think when you're in the game of people just sending you business, are you really truly running a business yourself, or are you just are people just giving you money? So
Yeah.
I try to help people create their own customers,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And actually, you're hitting on something that actually happened to us this past year. We had kind of star producer leave a larger shop and come over to us, and they had some really good referral sources where they were, and like you said, mortgage brokers and the like. And exactly what you said, it just literally boom dried right up. They had, I guess, more loyalty to the agency where this person left, and for better or worse, they found themselves with nothing. And now actually they're trying to get into more digital marketing stuff with like Facebook ads. We're using a little co-op money from one of our carriers to
Nice.
supplement that, but I mean, to your point, like we have to have something in place that's consistent and that can consistently drive leads and referrals. So
Yep.
back up for a second and tell me, before you talk a little bit more. And when you talk about us, you're talking about Advisor Evolved, right? Your company.
Yep. Hmm.
Right. Okay. So before we get into the nuts and bolts of what you do, what Advisor Evolve does, how did you get into, like, have you always been in insurance, or what's your connection to insurance? If you're, like a tech guy that knows
Sure.
a thing or two about websites.
Yeah, man. So I started a scratch agency in one of my best friend's financial planning firms. This is back in, I don't even know. I mean, this is like I said, 10 plus years ago, 12 years ago,
Yeah.
maybe 15 years ago, man. I feel like it was
God,
forever ago,
we're
but
so old.
I know, I know, I know. As I brush my white Santa Claus beard, but
I wasn't gonna say
yeah,
anything.
right. But no, I mean, I started a scratch agency, and it was
Yeah.
something that they always wanted to do. I was insurance licensed. I started my career, so to speak, at AIG.
Mhm.
I was selling homeowners insurance out of a cubicle. That's where I cut my teeth, learned how to sell, learn the product, learn um, really how to position insurance, and then started the scratch agency, and was like a partner in the corp.
Mhm.
Wasn't the actual owner per se of the corp, because it was a branch of the financial planning firm, but I was the agency principal,
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes. I met with carrier reps, I wrote policies, I serviced policies, I was in the trenches just like any other agent, producer, agency owner. And so that's kind of where I learned about being an independent agent,
Yeah.
because when I was at AIG, all the marketing and advertising was done for me. I did not have to knock on doors or do anything. I just had to
Right.
be ready for that phone, for that beep. I wore a headset just like this.
Yeah.
Actually, this brings back memories, but um, but you hear the
Bad
phone
memories?
beep, and you immediately are like, "Hey, this is Chris
Yeah.
from AIG Homeowners. How can I help you?" And it's like you go right into a sale. But that's where I really learned how to sell. But then I learned the industry. In some ways, took some lumps, early on, like we all do. But
Yeah.
that's kind of where I started off. And yeah, I mean, the whole time that I was doing that, I was doing actual graphic design, doing like print press stuff, designing flyers, business cards,
Yeah.
brochures. I was sort of like the marketing guy, the chief marketing officer at our financial services firm. So like, if we did a lot of direct mail marketing in that time for
Mm.
financial seminars, so they were like, Chris, we need a postcard by next week. Can you
Yeah.
write it up? So I
Yeah.
had to do all the copywriting, design, and we did very well with that for a while. But that's kind of where I really was like, man, like discovered my talent for that, and
Yeah.
other people were like, you know, dude, like like you're good, you're talented. So I started to really believe in myself, and then got involved with designing websites, and at the time was not building them, was just build mocking them up in Photoshop and letting other people, sending them to other people to build. And
Yeah.
then got into to the point where we were doing full end to end builds. And so I was doing that, for a handful of clients. People would come to me, and then we had a insurance agent, Josh Lipstone. He's in North Carolina. He's like one of my good friends in the industry. I've known him for since the very beginning of Advisory Evolved. He was like
Yeah.
client number one actually, and he was like, "Dude, you got to do this for other people. Like this is awesome. Like we're seeing good results. We love the website." And it just kind of took off from there. And here we are, 6, 7 years later, and
Wow.
it's been my full-time thing, for the last 6, 7 years. So we have a team of 6, 7 people, and we're cranking, man. We're
That's awesome.
sort of a
So
well-oiled machine of ourselves.
all right, so you got street cred. You know what you're doing from an insurance perspective in terms of, or at least what insurance agents and agency owners are dealing with, which
Yep.
makes you unique in this space because you're not just a tech guy coming in and trying to figure it out on the back end. You lived it, you breathed it, you
Yep.
struggled with it, and built a solution. So let's talk about the solution. How can agents um, scale their client acquisition using Advisor Evolved?
Yeah, man. So there's a lot of things that go into this, right? I'll try to simplify this. And I read a book called Traffic Secrets, which
Okay.
I would recommend. I'd recommend anybody take a look at this. This is a book by Russell Brunson, who, for those that don't know,
Oh,
Russell created it.
ClickFunnels.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's
Okay.
the guy behind the software ClickFunnels.
Yeah.
ClickFunnels is like a um, landing page builder type tool. There's a lot of stuff that goes into
That's what this
ClickFunnels, but
podcast. That's where it lives, is on
okay, cool.
ClickFunnels.
Yeah,
Just for the podcast. Yeah.
yeah. And so he's a very actually a very brilliant marketer, and also he's very good at sales. He's like really like a unicorn in some ways, but his book breaks a lot of this down, and I'm not ashamed to say that, it opened me up to a lot of things for my own business. But the sort of the point of it is, look at the lifetime customer value. So you sell a policy, home and auto, or maybe your commercial, whatever. Your upfront commission, let's say, is $250 to $350. I'm just averaging this out, right? I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
some states it's a lot more and a lot
Yeah.
less, but let's say you make $300, right? And you retain that client for, um, 5 years. Okay, so now what your lifetime profit is for that client.
Hmm.
Um, you really need to look at that. And when you're doing marketing or advertising, a lot of people will tiptoe into it, and they'll want to run a Google campaign, $5 daily budget. And we're like, dude, that's not going to do anything for you. People are afraid to spend money, but it's like when
Yeah.
you look at what you actually make off of just one customer, if you just put that into your monthly ad spend budget for Google or Facebook,
Hmm.
um, you could break even on that just getting one customer,
Yeah.
and then the rest of that is profit. So the book really tells you how to basically buy customers.
Okay.
And because so many other um, small businesses and insurance agencies included, because they are so let me use the right word here. They're small, right? They
Yeah.
may not have the revenue.
Yeah.
They may not have the people, and they are afraid to spend money on something that they may not see an ROI on right away.
Hmm.
And so for the businesses that can spend money, that do have an actual, let's say, disposable marketing budget, right? Where if they lost 5 grand in 1 month and got nothing back in return, it's not going to be a devastating blow to their business.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of the bigger agencies, they're in that place, right, where they do have a marketing budget to reinvest. And with digital marketing and any real type of advertising, it's like planting a tree. The best time to plant a tree was yesterday, right? Because trees take forever to grow,
Yeah.
and brands take a long time to grow. And the brand is the ultimate end goal of advertising and marketing. That's
Yeah.
the end, that's the messiah, that's the white light, um, the come to Jesus. The brand is the most powerful lead generation, customer acquisition thing that exists. And I tell this to
Hmm.
agencies all the time. People don't buy their insurance from Allstate, State Farm, Farmers, Geico, Progressive, whatever, because they think they have good insurance, right? They're buying from a brand.
Yeah.
Allstate, State Farm, they don't have better paper than some of these carriers that we use as independent agents. They don't have better
Yeah.
contracts, better
Yeah.
product,
Yeah.
but they have a way better brand. And people buy brands.
Yep.
They trust brands, and people base their purchasing decisions every day on nothing other than familiarity. And that's actually stupid when you think about it, right? Why would we as a person just buy something because we've heard of it a couple times?
Yeah.
Not because it's necessarily good. In fact, we don't know really much about it yet. But we buy based on familiarity, and that is really the end goal of digital marketing, of advertising. It's to build the brand. And I think a lot of agencies, they don't let that happen. They stop prematurely because they don't see ROI
Yeah.
right away. And
Yeah.
ROI is at the end of that tunnel, brother. It's the tree. It's the full grown tree.
Yeah.
And it just takes time to get there, especially when you're in a very competitive industry like insurance. We run ads and we see in any given market there's 10 to 15 other insurance agencies competing for the same traffic. Now the good thing is only one of them is actually spending money, our client. So we're able to get to the top of Google right away, whereas everybody else is just waiting to get there for free.
Yeah.
And so like I said, a lot that goes into it. But when you understand your lifetime value, and you understand, like, oh wow, yes, I am paying money to get this customer, but I'm breaking even on it, and I'm profiting because you're in the business of insurance. You get recurring commissions.
Yeah.
And if you have a good back end in your agency, if you have a good referral program and you're getting Google reviews and you have a good proactive customer experience, you're going to retain these people for a lot longer than
Yeah.
3 or 5 years, right? I mean, when I
Yeah.
was an agent, we had clients that never wanted to leave. They were devastated when I told them I was leaving our agency. Um, so if you play your cards right and you have a good back end system in your agency, you can just fuel it, and at that point, it becomes like printing money.
Yeah.
You put a couple $1,000 in, and you get 10x back out. Now, I don't want to make it sound that it's just that easy for everybody. It's not. Different markets are more competitive than others. Cost per click and cost per impression metrics, like on Google and Facebook, they differ from market to market. But the bottom line is, like, this is where people are, right? Facebook has whatever millions or a billion at daily active users. Google has
Yeah.
the most data in the world.
Yeah.
TikTok is now becoming a legitimate advertising platform with
That's the third time I've heard this week somebody say that.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Huh.
crazy. I mean, and look, you know how those platforms are, right? I mean,
Yeah.
people are not
They
going
come
to
and go.
TikTok or Instagram
Yeah.
to search for an insurance broker. But the bottom line is, if you can get in front of those people at the right age group, the right demographic, and you just get impressions on them and brand reps on them, they're going to give you an opportunity. It's like the billboard on the highway.
Yeah.
As old school as billboards are, they work, and that's why they're still in existence, because
Yeah.
it's just a matter of people seeing your name over and over again, over and over again. That's why they buy from you.
Yeah.
So yeah. Sorry, that was a
So
long
how
answer to a short
no, no, no,
question.
it's great. So I want to make sure I understand. I want to make sure our audience understands. And that's God, there's so many different points in there. I could go off on tangents. Not the least of which is sticking in there for the long run when you're doing advertising, like Facebook advertising or other. That I mean, quite candidly, we've been terrible at that. We have been the person who's come in and done it in fits and starts, and then we're exactly what you said. We're not seeing the ROI. We're cutting it off.
Yep.
So the one that we're doing right now on Facebook, we know that we're going to need to stick in there longer, and we feel comfortable with that, especially since we're using co-op money. By the way, agents, if you're not using co-op money that your carriers are offering, like, what are you doing? I mean, and I'm saying
Yeah.
this from somebody who was also not using co-op money for the longest time, but but I want to get back to specifically like Advisor Evolved. Are you saying that you guys are a Facebook advertising company, or is it a website company that does some other things?
Yep.
What Tell us what agents are going to get from it.
Yeah, we do a little bit of everything. We
Okay.
are obviously are a web design and web development agency, but also do done for you digital marketing. So we in effect
Okay.
become your digital marketer for your
Awesome.
agency. We'll run, Google ads, Facebook ads, retargeting campaigns. We can actually upload a list of your existing clients to Facebook and run a customer match list to advertise to your existing book for
Yeah.
retention purposes.
Yeah.
We do a little bit of everything. And those two platforms have their own use cases. Google is
Sure.
obviously a search platform. Facebook is not. So they're just two different types of creative headlines that you write, ad structure, those kinds of things. But yeah, we handle that for the client, because we've seen agencies try to do this themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll watch a couple YouTube videos, or maybe they'll buy a course, and by
Yeah.
the time they actually go to implement what they learned, something has changed. And
Yeah.
these platforms are constantly changing.
Yeah.
And really, at the end of the day, it's a full-time job. And most agencies don't have a even part-time marketer that really understands. And I'm not talking about sending out newsletters. I'm talking about real marketing and advertising, where you have multiple different campaigns. And that's a challenge, right? That's the biggest challenge for any small business, is filling the top of their funnel, building that
Mm.
top level brand awareness for their business. And that's why so many agencies rely on referrals, because yes, it's steady, but it doesn't allow you to really scale
Yeah.
like buying traffic does, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I presume that you have figured out how this works best for insurance agents versus any other vertical. when it
Yep.
comes to the advertising. How can you tell us how that's different, or what you've seen in the marketplace that kind of
Yep.
stands out as like you could pay if an agent's listening to this and say, well, okay, fine, but like I could, I'm thinking about using this outside person that's all they do is just, Facebook ads and stuff, but they're not in our industry. Like, what would you say to them? What's the difference between what you do and what the other person could do?
Yeah, I think the big thing is I understand insurance consumers.
Okay.
um, that's where it starts, right? Like, what is going
Yeah.
to make an insurance consumer tick? Take Facebook for example. Most people have heard this over and over again for years. Get a free quote.
Yeah.
Well, that is so old. That's such an old call to action that
Yeah.
people are just completely. It's just in one ear and out the other, right? They're
Yeah.
completely numb to a lot of the insurance marketing, and calls to action and
Hmm.
value propositions. We're independent, we're family owned. Um, People are numb to that, right? Because it's been said a million times.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
on a display advertising network like Facebook, you have to get creative, and
Yeah.
it starts with your actual artwork, the image that you use, the video that you use should not be a family smiling, like all the kids in like this
Running
fake
through a
clip art.
field.
Correct. That doesn't resonate with anybody. You have to
Yeah.
hit people in the gut. You have to play on fear and play on greed, because those are the two reasons why people take action and buy things, right?
Yeah.
So, understanding the consumer, and people might crucify me for this, but this is the God's honest truth. When you look at the numbers and you look at search volume and you look at why people change insurance, it is price driven.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the average American who makes, a combined $80,000 a year combined household, which in 2022 is like making 60 grand a year because of
Yeah.
inflation.
Yeah.
Price matters to those people. That's one of the reasons why people shop. That's why there's so much search volume in Google for car insurance quotes. People are looking for a lower price. So that is always going to be an angle that you need to work.
Hmm.
Obviously, as an agent, your goal is always to, when they come in, they come in for price and they stay for service, right? We've heard that
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
That's a real thing as well. But we understand the end user, and that's an important thing. Like, I would never try to go and write ads for like e-commerce or weight supplement products or lawn care or whatever. Like, that's not
Yeah.
my niche. If someone came to us in one of those niches, we probably turn them away. But we have a lot of data. We've been doing this for several years now, and you have a good wherewithal about what converts, what ad language works, what doesn't, what landing pages work, which ones don't. We've written ads for people, and they're like, Chris, that's not us. Like,
Mm.
that verbiage and that image is not us. And I'm like, I hate to tell you this, but if it was you, this campaign would tank, because your office has yellow ceiling tiles and it's old and stale. Like, we want to show something different to the prospect. We need to get their attention first and foremost, because Facebook people are scrolling through all day. How are you going to stop them from scrolling past your ad and looking at it? It's got
Yeah.
to be a vibrant color. It's got to be a
Yeah.
headline that hits you in the stomach. Like,
Yeah.
there's an art to writing ads, and it's why so many people fail, and a lot of agencies fail at trying to do it themselves, because they're not
Yeah.
copywriters, they're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
marketers, they're
Yeah.
insurance agents, and they're
Sure.
writing the same boring ads that have been done for a million years, and that's why they're not seeing results. But there's a lot of creativity that goes into digital marketing, and if you're not a creative person, you should either outsource it or figure something else out, because that's the last thing you want to do is spend a lot of time, spend a lot of money trying to do it yourself, and you don't know what levers to pull and buttons to push and what copy works. So,
Yeah.
um, there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. For agents who are considering, like, okay, either, well, you got two camps, right? They either don't have a website, which is crazy these days, or they've got something that, most of us have something. we've spent quite a bit of time over the years, and I built ours out from scratch, and then I turned it over to somebody, and a lot of our content is still there, and there's all kinds of forms and different things on there, different elements. For somebody like us who has a little bit more robust website, how would you work with someone like us? Like, would you be able to take that over and work with all the different elements that we have and that we want to keep, or what does that look like when you're onboarding somebody?
Yeah, it's a good question. So historically, we have not taken over existing websites
Okay.
um, for a variety of reasons. We physically can, we have, we just don't do it often because you're sometimes taking somebody else's problem on.
Hmm.
So in some respects, it's like somebody going to an agent and saying, "I want an apples to apples quote, apples to apples,"
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're like, "Okay, I can do that, but I might be copying this other agent's mistakes, and I don't
Yeah.
want to do that. I want to give you my own recommendations and do it my way because I know that
Yeah.
that's probably better for you."
Yeah.
So we have not taken over existing sites. If it really made sense and we had control and access and stuff to the back end to be able to get in there and kind of diagnose and see how it was built, we'll do a full SEO audit on the site to see what it's ranking for,
Sure.
uncover any technical SEO issues. Um, but yeah, I mean, most of the time we're starting from a fresh build. We'll jump on a call with the client. We'll go through the discovery process. Hey, what lines of business do you focus on? What makes you different, do you think, from other agencies, so we can play that up on the
Hmm.
website. And then, yeah, if the client has a lot of stuff on their existing site that they want to keep, we can absolutely do that. Again, our job is to make it better and not make it a lateral move,
Yeah.
um, where you're just changing to change. We want to make it better. We want to, whether it be content, design,
Hmm.
cleaning things up, those kinds of things. And, again, going back to like understanding the end user, the insurance consumer, why would an insurance consumer come to an insurance agency website? Um, you know, our data tells us that it's either to get a quote or to contact the agency. Those are the two biggest calls to action, right? You need to get those people to those places as easily as possible. I see a lot of agencies that
Yeah.
get caught up in bells and whistles and features and sliders and this and that, and it doesn't make a difference to the user. In fact, it could probably only hurt the user experience or confuse them.
Sure.
Simplicity really is important when it comes to websites. And especially for you're dealing with the public. You
Hmm.
don't know how tech savvy these individuals are. um, it's simplicity is always very important when you're building out sites, and sometimes we have to talk people off a ledge to say, hey, look, I know this new like widget that you want to use is cool, but you know or I know the form that you want to ask for a million questions on the form, I know you want to get all that information, but
But
I'm
nobody's
telling
gonna
you,
fill it
it's
out.
it's gonna kill your conversion.
Yeah.
It's gonna kill your leads.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we have to kind of consult people and say, "Hey, look, uh, you know, I know you think it looks good, but does the client think it looks good, or does it matter to them?" Um,
Yeah.
so a lot of times it's starting with that type of conversation. And we run into situations where, like, I looked at your website and I told you this is okay, like far
Yeah.
from problematic compared to what we normally see. And so in your situation personally, it could be an opportunity where we take it over and kind of be able to rework things and manage it for you. So it just depends. It's a client to client type of thing.
Yeah, and not to make this about us, but like you know, if we were to do this with you, which I want to talk to you about later.
Right.
There are, I know that there's a couple of niche businesses that we've been able to, from an SEO standpoint, actually rank pretty high, and we're getting pretty consistent traffic on it. Have for years. We brought it over to another company to manage the website, and love you guys. I'm not gonna say their name, but like, we're really, the purpose of it was to rank higher for other things, and we really haven't. And we've been with them for a year and a half or so, almost going on 2 years, and the same things that we were ranking for before, we're still ranking for. And I was always big on SEO, But again, like I said, I had never really leveraged consistently the advertising portion of it and bringing people to landing pages and converting them in that way. Um,
Yep.
it 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 was always focused more on content than it was on conversion. I think that's probably
Yep.
the best way I can say it. And I bet there's plenty of other agents out there who are doing it that way and that probably need to fix it.
Yeah. So you bring up a good point. And content is important. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but you could have a one-page website, just literally a one-page website, a landing page with one singular page, and that page could outperform, outrank, out profit a website that's got 1,000 blog articles and 1,000 videos. Um, Content is important, but you have to be careful when you create content. Number one, you don't want to create duplicate content, meaning you don't want to create 8 different articles about auto insurance on your website. Why? Because you're focused on the same keyword, and Google now doesn't understand which page should we rank for that keyword.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is it's called keyword cannibalization. Those
Yes. Yeah.
pages ultimately end up fighting or competing against each other on the same website for the same keywords. So creating content, you have to have a game plan in place. First of all, you have to look at search volume.
Hmm.
I've seen agencies try to rank for pet insurance and they dump all this time and money. And I'm like, dude, pet insurance gets like 300 searches per month nationally. There's
Yeah.
no search traffic for pet insurance.
Yeah.
So don't go crazy trying to rank for pet insurance, folks, because there's not a lot of people searching for it, right?
Not
And
a lot
that's the
of
thing is
premium in it either.
there's not a lot of premium in it, right? That
Yeah.
so a quick lesson, right? If somebody came
Yeah.
to us and said we want to write ads for pet insurance, first of all, we would say no, but we would say, hey, look, go to siccode.com
Yeah.
and buy a list of veterinarians, right? And do cold email and do direct mail, literally mail postcards or flyers to the veterinarian about pet insurance. Walk in. It's not an ads play because there's not enough search volume for it, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, like you got to write content for stuff that people search for, and
Yeah.
I see agents all the time. And listen, Ryan Hanley is one of the greatest content creators. Um, he's probably the greatest content creator in our industry, right? Um,
Yes. I would agree with that. He's on
and
video more than anyone I know.
yeah, I mean, he's a professional
Yeah.
content creator. He's not
Yeah.
an amateur. He's not
Yeah.
just an agent, twiddling around on weekends. Like he's a professional content creator.
Yeah.
And he understands, yeah, the videos that I'm creating now might not have, a lot of views today,
Hmm.
but he's planting his digital tree.
Yeah.
So 5 years from now, when the search volume for one of those topics does become higher, um, now his content that he created 5 years ago is getting him 3 leads a month.
Yeah.
So it's if you're going to do content creation, you kind of got to do it right. And the great thing about websites and some of the sort of the misconception, right, with SEO, and you brought this up. This is another good point. So many agencies are focused on SEO,
Yeah.
and the reality is, at the end of the day, your website and SEO, it only helps you if someone searches for what you sell, where you sell it, right?
Yeah.
Um, you can't control that. You can't control how many people want your product. Um, so the flip side of this, and where I'm going with this is, don't put all of your eggs in the SEO basket,
Hmm.
right? You have to go to the display, Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah. Yeah.
TikTok. You have to go to display networks to get your message in front of people, whether or not they're searching for it or not. This is called disruption advertising,
Hmm.
right? And so that those are the two different use cases for each platform. But I can go on and on about SEO, but trust me,
Yeah.
it's important, but it's not the only way to generate traffic and leads. In fact, we tell a lot of people it's the last thing you should be worried about. Focus on other things first. Focus on outbound advertising, outbound marketing, display advertising, um, and interrupting people and just building your awareness and your brand presence, the SEO stuff will come along. That will
Yeah.
happen in time. And especially if you do Google Ads, like Google Ads is really SEO on steroids. I don't
Yeah.
even like to call it Google Ads. I mean, really, what's the point of SEO? To be the highest result in a search.
Right.
What's the point of Google Ads? To be the highest result in the search. They have the same objective.
Yeah.
The difference is that you're paying for one and you're
Yeah.
skipping the line. You're
Yeah.
skipping all the other business owners that don't want to spend money. You're going right to the top.
Yeah.
And we've been able to get people to the top of Google in a week
Wow.
for competitive keywords because yes, they're
Yeah.
paying money, but they're also making, a $5,000 commission. So yeah, they're spending $1,000 or $2,000 a month in ad spend, but if they get one customer, they're making first year profit and renewal profit.
Yeah.
Um, and they're getting
Yeah.
more than one customer.
Yeah, and you can't do that in every industry, in most industries, which is why this is the world's greatest industry, right?
It's the greatest
Uh,
industry, man. It's the greatest
one last
industry.
question before we get into the rapid fire round. If I'm if I'm thinking, okay, Chris, I like what I'm hearing, but how much time am I as the agent or the agency owner going to spend once I turn everything over to you? Because when you talk about like disruptive, what did you say, disruptive advertising, or what was?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and when I
disruptive
think about
advertising.
TikTok and like my when you said TikTok, my first thought was how often am I gonna have to make videos for that? Like, what does that look like? What's the
Yeah.
time commitment from an agent who's gonna turn this over to you?
Yeah. So first of all, truth be told, we haven't messed with TikTok really at
Yeah, yeah,
all. Mostly
yeah.
because our clients have a budget of X, and to,
Right.
to to go to a different platform means you need
And
to
it's still
allocate.
newer and yeah,
Right,
yeah.
it's still newer.
But
It's
for
still
the other
newer. And
ones,
we want to allocate mostly to Google and Facebook.
yeah,
But to answer your question, there's very little time. I mean, we get on an onboarding call to go through like, what do you want to target? We go through an interview process. Are you using automation tools that can auto respond to incoming leads? What would happen if I were to call your agency today? Would I get hung up in some phone tree, or would someone pick the phone up? Right,
yeah,
because we count phone calls as conversions
yep,
on these campaigns. Um, but there's no time. We handle the creative. We write the ads. We create the images. Excuse.
cool. Yeah.
We don't do video production like as we sit here today.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that's coming. We can create little slideshow videos with a combination of images.
Sure.
Um, Videos do work, but the video has to be really good.
Yeah.
Um, it's got to be good, and
Yeah.
we're not at that point where we have like a full time video editor and stuff. We're in the process of vetting people to do that so that we can get in more into like YouTube and stuff. Like we don't dabble in YouTube a ton. We can. The
Yeah.
client has the assets to do it, um, but we haven't thus far just because it's not, in my opinion, uh, the first platform you should go to if you're an agent. It's one of
Sure.
those things that you kind of do to augment the other stuff. But um, I mean, our goal is to have it be completely hands off. I mean, we don't want you to spend any time on it. That's why you're hiring us to do it
Right.
in most cases,
Yeah.
is because you don't have time. So once we get access to the ad accounts, we'll talk to you to figure out what the budget should be, because the budget, and a lot of people that listen to this might say, well, what should our budget be? It depends on what you want to target.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on what the cost per click is. It depends on what the
Right.
cost per impression is. Depends on how big your advertising market is. If you want to run a national ad to the entire United States. Like we had a guy, he's like, we want to sell bonds. We're licensed in all states. Can we run bonds in every state? And I'm like, well, first of all, bonds doesn't have a lot of search volume, so you
Yeah.
might not want to do it. But second of all, if you want to run it to the national audience,
Yeah.
you're going to need a $500 a day budget minimum to see like what the cost per click ends up being, and that's just
Yeah.
not something a lot of people are willing to risk or spend. So the budget really depends on the client, what they want to target, what they're good at writing, how big their advertising radius is, and really the structure of their agency. If they're the only one in the agency that's responsible for handling incoming leads,
Sure.
we may not want to go to five different platforms. We might just want to do Google because you may not be able to handle more than five leads a month or
Right.
five leads a week or whatever. So
Well, that's what I was
Yeah.
going to ask next, and I know I still want to get a rapid fire round, but I'm still curious
No, you're
now
good.
as we go
You're good.
through this. Like, what kind of results are your clients seeing, and how fast are they seeing them, and then
Yep.
longevity of those results? I know I just asked you three
Yeah.
questions in one, but
Yeah. No, no, no. That's fine. So the results are good. I mean, look, when you look at how much it costs to buy traffic and what
Mhm.
what the ultimate profit is for any one click to that landing page. You know, and again, it's about impressions. It's about obviously it's about results. You want people to fill out the form and you want to be able to write those people.
Mhm.
The results really vary depending on the client. We've had situations where we've written campaigns and the client says, dude, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. You know, like we're crushing it right now. How can we scale this even higher? And
Yeah.
we've had situations where the client's like, hey, you know, we've had a couple calls, but like we would like to see more volume. And sometimes it's, you know, they're not seeing volume because they only wanted to advertise to 3 different zip codes,
Yeah.
right? So sometimes when your audience is really small, the search volume is going to be smaller and the
Yeah.
lead volume is going to be smaller. But the results, I mean, we have close to 70 people that we manage ads for.
Mhm.
Results are all over the place. You know, being 100% honest, I mean,
Sure.
some accounts are doing better than others, but they're targeting all different things. Everybody's got different budget.
Yeah.
The other thing too is at the end of the day, like you got to be good at sales, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Closing a lead through an ad is not the same thing as a loan officer referral or a warm referral from, uh, you know, a referral partner.
In what way?
But the
How are
one
they
thing,
different?
uh, because they don't know you, it's a cold lead. You
Yeah.
know, like
Okay.
you gotta typically follow up with them. You have to really, sometimes you have to chase them, but
Yeah. You got
at
to
the end
build
of the
that
day, it's like
relationship. Yeah.
you gotta build a relationship.
Yeah.
And with a referral, there's kind of already a relationship there. It's kind of why
Yep.
we tell people, make sure you're using some type of automation tool so that when that form gets filled out, we can, you know, you can auto respond
Got
to
it.
help get on the phone with them quicker. But grand scheme of things, 30,000 foot view
Yeah.
of advertising and not just digital advertising, but just advertising in general is that keep in mind at the end of the day, people buy from brands
Mhm.
and you are better off advertising than not. You
Yeah.
know, like I saw the episode with Gabe O,
Yeah.
and I'll let you get to rapid fire after this because
Yeah.
I know
Yeah. Sure.
you're
No, go for
we're
it.
on
Go
a
for
time
it.
schedule here.
Yeah.
Gabe O said, you know, everybody wants to track ROI, and ROI is not a linear thing. You don't put $5 into a machine and automatically get $20 back out. Not everything is trackable. Like he said, he was giving out swag. You really can't track the ROI of that. Like I give out these shirts,
Yeah.
and I have people that DM me on Facebook at 10:30 at Friday nights and say, "Hey, can you send me another shirt?" Um, you know, you can't measure the ROI of every single thing, and if that is the mentality that you have, um, that's not a bad thing. But just understand you are going to be disappointed
Yeah.
more than not because if you want to double your money and you have a very short tolerance or short, you have no patience to let things work, don't advertise.
Yeah.
It's a long game. It takes time for the tree to grow,
Yeah.
um, but it does work. I mean,
Yeah.
Allstate, State Farm, Geico, they're a witness to that.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes so much sense. Man, I think I'm a convert now. Well, let's do some rapid fire real quick. And one piece of technology or software you can't live without. You're not allowed to say advisor involved.
So, so
Just kidding.
it's easy actually. It's called Front. So FRONT, Front app. If
Okay.
you Google it, it's an email help desk sort of like ticketing system. This is what we use internally to manage incoming support tickets,
Yeah.
as well as it connects to all my other personal email boxes. So I can manage all of my email, all of my conversations, assign things, tag things. I can have side conversations without the client. You know, we can talk behind the scenes about a certain question, and then my support rep can reply back with the correct answer. I couldn't live without it, man. If they told me it was going to be 50 grand a year, I'd have to
Wow.
pay it because
Really? What does
I
it
love
do
it, man.
for you? Not the product, but like the result. Is it saving you time or?
Dude, it saves us a ton of time. It saves us a
Yeah.
ton of keystrokes. It connects
Mm,
into our knowledge base software. So
yeah.
if somebody asks us an FAQ, we can click a button and it imports the link
Huh.
into the email thread. I think Front would be a great tool for insurance agents to use. In fact, if anyone here is interested, if you're interested,
Yeah.
willing to do a live webinar to show you how it works. No strings attached. I don't care if you sign up for it or not. I'm not an affiliate or anything like that, but
Yeah.
it's awesome. Like I know a lot of people use Microsoft Office. That's kind of like the de facto, email platform. But Front is awesome, dude. It's a great software.
That's cool. I never heard of that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's one book that you're reading right now or that you've read that you want to share with folks?
So I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't read a lot of books. Um, I just don't have time in the day. But
Yeah.
I did buy a book recently that I do plan on reading at one point, which is called the Category Design Toolkit. Wait, let me
Okay.
get this in the middle of the screen
Yeah.
here. This is by the Category Pirates. This is a book that's about differentiating yourself 30,000
Mm,
foot view. It's about creating your own category. Yes, we're a website development agency, but we do a lot of other things. How can we create our own category, our own space in the niche? That's what that book is about. I think that would be a good read too for insurance agents because we're all selling the same carriers with the same elevator pitch, and it's very difficult to differentiate ourselves.
you nailed it. I was gonna say the same exact thing, but yeah, that's a really good one. I love it. Um, what's one mistake or lesson that you've learned throughout this process of creating Advisor Evolved, or even from your agent days?
um, Man, uh, I think maybe respecting my elders a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, Not that I have disrespected them,
Yeah.
but I think when you look around and you see potential holes in the industry or in the ecosystem that you want to fix,
Yeah.
it's very easy to go in and think like my product is going to be the best, and
Yeah.
because we have multiple competitors in our category at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, that when I first came in, I'm like, man, like they're not very good. Like this should be relatively easy. And not that I was never cocky about it. I was definitely very confident. But I think that through the years we've learned that this is not an easy business to be in. It's a lot of hard work. And those vendors, those website development vendors that came before me
Yeah.
and digital marketing people that came before me, um, they created the category that I'm now in.
Yeah.
When I came into the insurance agency, it was 75-year-old man, Joe Timothy. It's like my grandfather. I love this dude. He brought me into the business. He was the slowest dude. He was like a turtle. He didn't understand technology. He wanted me to print email attachments so that he could then scan them back into his computer and email a scanned attachment out to an underwriter. I'm like, you could just forward the email, Joe, to the
You
underwriter. The
had an
attachment
employee
ain't
that did
going
the
nowhere.
same thing. Yes.
And I remember being like some days I would come home and I'm like, that Joe Timothy. Um, and now, but it's like respecting his grind because he had five
Yeah.
agencies that he sold. He was very successful and
Yeah.
he did things a different way than I was brought up. I think respect your elders at all times because they fought battles and for many reasons, for many uh, reasons or many years, they're the ones that kind of have the arrows in their back that you're
Yeah.
benefiting from. And I've seen other people spring up with website development agencies for insurance and modeled very heavily after us. And modeled is putting it nicely.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just one of those things, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that may be a lesson that I learned, and that I think any other vendor, especially on the software side, would be good to kind of live by as well.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. One surprise question for you. Maybe it's a surprise if you've listened to another podcast, might not be. If you had the choice between eating a hot bowl of soup or consuming some gourmet hot chocolate and marshmallows, what would you choose? You're in Philly, man, so it gets cold there, and you.
Dude, that's a great question.
Why? Thank you.
Um, I think probably the soup.
What kind?
Um, Man, I'm a big, minestrone soup guy. I also like chicken
Nice.
noodle. I mean, chicken noodle is like that's a classic. I like minestrone soup, or minestrone, however you say it.
Yeah,
I'm part Italian, I should know this. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I think I love hot chocolate, don't get me wrong, but I'm
yeah.
like a 3 or 4 sip guy, and then I'm like, "Man, this is too sweet,"
It's
you
too
know?
much. Yeah.
Soup is like, I don't know, it fills you up, it's good, it's like I think I'm going with the soup, man.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to you receiving some because I'm going to send you a soup
Oh,
package
nice.
from Spoonful of Comfort, which we've given to
Oh,
our
nice.
agent, our staff as a gift, and we've given it to our podcast guests if that's what they choose. So
Oh, nice.
I'll,
Hey, man, I'll
I'll
gladly try it.
yeah, I'll get with you offline. We can get an address to send it to. But
Cool, man.
what's one final piece of advice that you would give to insurance agents before we wrap up?
Plant your tree, man. Plant your tree.
Love it.
Plant your tree as
Mm,
fast as you can. Start reinvesting back into your brand. Reinvest back into your agency. Don't look at ROI as linear. Understand that it takes time. It's a process. Um, but I think that's my advice. Whatever your goal is, like whatever your long term objective is, start on it now because it's going to take time. The sooner you start on it, the better off you're going to be.
beautiful.
Plant the
Couldn't have said
tree.
it better,
Plant the
man.
tree.
Plant the tree. Awesome. Chris, where can people get more of you in their life? Where do they go?
Yeah, man. So advisorevolved.com, kind of see on the shirt,
Yep.
advisorevolved.com. And then on the digital marketing side, we have like a sister company called Local Traffic Marketing.
Okay.
So localtrafficmarketing.com. And then I'm on Twitter as well. If you just go to Twitter, it's Langille does. That's my handle. I've been known to rant on Twitter. So be aware, some opinions are, opinionated, but it's all out of love, man. I love the industry. I'm passionate about it, man, and I want to see the best for my brothers and sisters in the industry. And sometimes I tend to be a little hard on folks, and tough love though. I'm from
Yeah.
Philly. That's how we roll out here. I really do mean the best, man. I love the industry, and like you said, it's the greatest industry in the world, man.
Awesome. Love it, brother. Stick around for just a second. I'll chat with you afterwards. But folks, until next time, grow big or go home. Take care.